Hey, welcome back. Listen, if you keep showing up for me like this, I'm going to have to keep showing up for you like this. So I guess we're just going to keep continuing to try. Welcome back to Trying To With Leah. So today I wanted to talk about a very emotional story. So trigger warning in advance. We're going to talk about a little bit of TMI information, but we are going to discuss my son and the journey that led me to him and the journey that is him. So to start us off, I have always struggled with womanly issues. I have had really heavy cycles. I had cervical dysplasia when I was young. I had to have a LEAP procedure done. Just lots of different things. And I always struggled to find a good birth control. And so my doctor and I decided to try out the shot birth control. And so I tried that out, and unfortunately, I had an adverse reaction. And basically what happened was, instead of having 1 week on, 3 weeks off, I had 3 weeks on, 1 week off. So it was miserable, and it lasted for years. And my doctor and I worked on it a very long time to try and get things under control. But it wasn't until that shot was fully out of my system completely that things went back to normal. After that got out of my system, we decided to do an IUD instead. So eventually my husband and I decided we wanted to start trying to have kids. So we went in to discuss having the IUD removed, and they told us it would be a year after we had it removed before we could even try. So we had to wait out that entire year. But when we were finally in the clear, we started trying, and we immediately got pregnant. So with that pregnancy, of course, it was my first. So I was super, super excited, super happy that I was pregnant. And I'm going to try really, really hard not to get through, I will try really, really hard to get through this entire video without crying, but I highly doubt that's going to happen. So trigger warning there too, I guess, if you want. But anyway. So we went in for, our checkups and everything, and the pregnancy was going really well. And we got to our 3-month check-in. So we went to the 3-month appointment. So the ultrasound tech came in, and she sat down and she was looking at the ultrasound for a while. And eventually she kind of got quiet. And so she stood up and she was like, well, I'm going to go get the doctor and I will be back. And so she left the room. And so we just kind of waited there. We had no idea what was going on or anything. And the doctor sat down with us after looking over the ultrasounds and everything and let us know that basically I had miscarried. What had happened was I had a partial molar pregnancy. Sorry. Give me a second. So getting back to the story, a molar pregnancy is basically where you have a tumor growing inside of you, and it tricks your body into thinking that your body is pregnant. So your hormone levels are where they should be. Your body is growing like it should be. You're getting cravings like you should be, all of that stuff. But it's actually a tumor inside of you growing. And so I had the partial molar pregnancy, which means that there was also a baby at one point in time. But the tumor outgrew the baby and terminated the pregnancy. So I basically miscarried. And So we're trying really hard not to cry again too. So they told me to come back in a week and schedule a D&C. So my husband and I grieved, and a week later we went back in and they scheduled the D&C for a week before Christmas. So I was like, okay, that's all right. It'll give me time, to recover right before Christmas and kind of get all the sadness out before everybody gets here. A couple of days before the surgery was supposed to happen, the D&C was supposed to happen, they called me and said, unfortunately, we have to reschedule the D&C. We can't do it on the day we were supposed to. We need you to come in on Christmas Eve. And so I had to undergo a D&C on Christmas Eve. It was a really traumatic experience, but it led me to my son eventually. So getting through this. So after the D&C, we were told that we needed to wait about a year before trying again. And so we waited out that year, we grieved, and surprisingly enough, it was really hard when we were told that we could try again, because I didn't know if this was going to happen again. So that fear was always in the back of my mind. And with the pain that I had just been through, losing that child, I didn't know that I had the strength to go through that again. So it was really hard for me because I really wanted to be a mom at the same time. But eventually we did decide to go ahead and start trying again, because the desire to be a mom in me won out. So as soon as we were able to try, we tried, and we got pregnant immediately again. So I was ecstatic, but at the same time, I was terrified because I was scared that it may happen again. Is there something that I can do? Something that I can, I was just trying to do anything that I could to prevent that happening again. So we started going into our appointments, and things seemed to be going okay. And at our 2-month appointment, we went in, and the doctor was out that day. We were going to be seeing the physician's assistant, who I had never seen before, but we went in, and so we went to the ultrasound room like we normally do, and I laid down, and the ultrasound tech, got quiet. And my heart just sank because I thought, oh my God, this is happening again, So she got up and she was like, okay, well, I'm going to go get the PA and we'll be back. So the ultrasound tech and the physician assistant come back in, and they look over the ultrasound together, and she tells me that they cannot find a heartbeat. And so I think to myself, I miscarried again. So unfortunately we grieve, and she lets us know that we need to come back in pretty soon to discuss what we need to do from there. So we go home, and we grieve for a few days, and we come back in, and once again back in the ultrasound room, and so the ultrasound tech is going over things, and my husband keeps, looking over at the ultrasound. And of course, I am staring at the ceiling because I don't want to see anything. So, y'all. Anyway, so my husband starts looking at the ultrasound and everything. And so the ultrasound tech eventually, again, gets quiet. So she gets up and she's like, okay, well, I'm going to go get the doctor and I'll be back. And I am just like, what the heck is happening? Like, I can't have miscarried twice. So what's happening, And so I'm pressuring my husband. I'm like, what do you see? What's going on? Like, what's happening? And he's like, I don't know. He's like, I don't know what I'm looking at. I don't know anything. He's like, I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you anything. I don't know. He's like, all we can do is wait until the doctor comes in. So the doctor comes in and so the doctor looks over the ultrasound and he's like, we found a heartbeat. So I was still pregnant and my son was okay. And so unfortunately I had anxiety the rest of the pregnancy. Like, I've got to do everything right. I've got to, I got to make sure that he's okay and, all this stuff. But yeah, I had a successful pregnancy. So after we had him, he was about 1.5 years old, I think, whenever we started noticing a regression in his speech, and he kind of wasn't making eye contact with us anymore. Not, at least not the way he was. So we had some concerns, and a friend of mine, I was lucky enough to have a friend that had 2 autistic kids, and she noticed the signs and she was able to gently point out some things that led me in the direction of getting my own son tested for autism. And at 2.5 years old is when we finally got the diagnosis. So the day that we got that diagnosis, we went to the autism clinic, and I will never forget what was said to me. So of course they told us that he was autistic, and the lady that we had done the test with, I believe what she said exactly was, you need to take some time over the next couple of days to grieve the life that you had planned for your son, because the things that you have hoped may not happen, and you should not be disappointed if they don't. You should be ecstatic to see those milestones whenever they occur. So that really hit home for me. So I did. I spent a couple of days actually grieving all of these expectations that I had over his life. And I'm glad I did, because in a lot of ways, he's exceeded my expectations. I really think that, honestly, parents need to do that in general. Even if your kid is neurotypical, I think that on the day that they're born, you go ahead and you take a couple of days to yourself while your emotions are still high, cry it out, whatever you need, so people don't think you're weird, whatever. But grieve the life that you have up until this point planned for your child, because it is not going to happen the way that you think it's going to happen. It's just not. And that's okay. That's okay. So after I had grieved, it was time for me to kick it into gear. I had to learn everything that I possibly could about autism, about my son, and what the future might look like for us. So my husband and I decided to go to a course that the autism clinic was putting on, and learn as much as we possibly could about what we were dealing with and what we could do to help our son. So this clinic was an amazing place, and the class was really informative. We watched a video that really hit home for us, because the child in the video was doing a lot of the things that our own son was doing, a lot of the same struggles, but they were finding solutions. So that gave us hope. And so basically the course that we took was all about how, you've heard the saying, I'm sure, before, if you meet one autistic person, you've met one autistic person. That saying, it was basically the same thing in this course. Like, you have to get to know your child because your child is an individual. You have to get to know what their triggers are, what they need, what their sensory needs are, what causes them to go into a meltdown, what affects them and what doesn't affect them, those kind of things. And how to help teach them and bond with them in a way that feels fun and safe and playful. It was all play-based therapy, and bonding therapy is really what it was. And it was so informative and so helpful. So we went to that clinic for quite some time, and then we started implementing things at home. And so every night when we got home from work, I would go in, and my son and I would sit on his bedroom floor and we would play together. And one of the things that he really loved to do is he loved to dump things out. He was that kid that would go over and take the entire tub of toys and just dump it out over and over and over again. He would come up to the blocks you just built and knock them down. He was destructo and he loved it. It was amazing. And so we brought that into our play together. We sat down on the floor and we did tubs of dried beans with different cups and different tubs. And we would just pour dried beans into different, tubs because they sounded different. Each one sounded different. Each one felt different to him. And so it was helping him in a play-based therapy. And so that's what we did together for years. And it really did help him a lot. He progressed with his speech. He was able to start walking. Of course, we did speech therapy. We worked a lot on getting him to those milestones. And he worked so hard. You could see it. And he was just amazing. And he has grown to be the most amazing kid I have ever met, literally. He is very gifted with different things. He's extremely good at math. He's extremely good with technology. He is curious about things. He loves figuring out the mechanics of how things work and how different things lead to different things. And he is just so inquisitive about everything. So I'll tell a quick story about one of my most recent issues that I've had come up. So of course, Jax is very into computers and phones and technology. And so he will change the settings on something. He's changed the language on stuff before, and I've had to try and figure out how to get back. And he got on the computer one day and I walked by and he was inspecting the source code from a website. And I'm like, hey, dude, can't do that. Not even 10 yet. Can't do that. So, yeah, we have special kind of problems. We have neurodivergent problems, which are always interesting, always fun to deal with. Possible FBI problems in the future if he gets too advanced. But yeah, we are always encouraging of him, but at the same time, got to keep him safe. Got to keep him off the most wanted list. So good stuff. But with each autistic kid, they have different things that they're great at and different things that they struggle with. Certain things are debilitating for him. So it depends on the kid as to what is going on with each individual child, but I have friends who have nonverbal children. I have friends who have children that are not able to walk. They have physical handicaps and things like that as well. And instead of, trying to find the the reasoning behind why this is all happening, why we're seeing so much autism and so much this and that to begin with. I mean, I get it. I would like to know as well what causes it. Absolutely. I think we all would. But at the same time, that should not be the upfront most important thing. The thing is we have a lot of autistic people now, a lot of autistic adults as well, who have not been accommodated for and may not ever be accommodated for if we don't do something about it. A lot of the times I see these sensory nights and things like that. And that's wonderful. It's great when there's inclusive things going on. But at the same time, it is also separate in a lot of ways. A sensory night will not outweigh the ability for a kid to go to a neurotypical kid's birthday party and still feel included. They should be able to go and have accommodations for them and not feel out of place because of that. I do see some of that here and there, but I think there could be a lot more of that in the world. I think we could be a lot more accommodating to neurodivergence, to physical handicaps, to other things, all kinds of physical and mental disabilities, or just divergence in general. People are people. We're individuals. We all have things that we struggle with. We all have things that trigger us. And we should be accommodating of one another in every situation. It shouldn't just be when you go to certain events, you can have certain things and certain accommodations, and then other things you're just going to have to suffer through because you're not neurotypical. That's not fair. That's not okay. That's not a world that I want to live in. I want to live in a world where we include everybody and everybody feels at home, safe, and loved. So now as he gets older, I have new issues that pop up. I am his biggest advocate, so I have to advocate for him in the school setting. And from what I have seen, our education system is broken in a lot of ways. I think that education should be individualized in a lot of ways. I think that we need to figure out, because there are different types of ways of learning, and different people are better at different types of learning. We should be teaching those ways. We should be teaching in the way that you learn. And that's the kind of class that you should have. The people that learn best by, a lecture should be in lectures. The people that learn best by hands-on should be doing things hands-on, and I don't think you get enough of that in the school system. I think that they try and force you into conforming to all of these different things that we were never meant to conform to. We were meant to lean into our own strengths. And of course, you want to try different things out. There's nothing wrong with trying different things out and trying different ways of learning, but you learn what's best for you. And when you do, that should make you, that should develop your own educational path from there. I just have a lot of feelings about education, to be honest with you, but that's okay. I hope that we evolve into much better systems in the future that don't try to put people in boxes. Instead of looking at autism as a problem to be solved, or autistic people as, something we've got to fix, which is just outrageous and crazy. Instead, we need to look at them as if they might be the solution, because they probably are. I think that autistic people are here to teach us something. I think that they are here to teach us how we are individuals and how we all have different struggles, and we all have different things that we excel at and are passionate about and thrive at. And those are the things that we need to develop in this world. I have seen before where, people talk about how autism is a superpower. And I've also seen before where autistic adults hate it when people say that, because they struggled. They spent years struggling just to survive in the society that we have. But the most creative minds create the most creative solutions. And I feel like that's what our world really, really needs right now. We need creative solutions that can fix problems that are very complex. I really feel like even autistic people who are nonverbal and non-communicative at all are still teaching us something, or they should be teaching us something. So what can we learn? What can we learn from them? I think a lot of it is to be more accommodating. I think a lot of it also is to look at people as individuals and not classify them, stereotype them, put them in these boxes and say, oh, you're this way because you think X, Y, and Z. Well, that may not necessarily be the case, or it might not be exactly how you think it is. People are people. We are a breed of our own. Every single one of us is a breed of our own. You know? Maybe the biggest thing that they're here to teach us is unconditional love. I really think that that is the case, because I unconditionally love my son, and it's been the most amazing thing that's ever happened to me, because it's taught me to unconditionally love everybody around me as well. So I think that that's a big lesson that they're here to teach us. And instead of focusing on, what problems we have, let's focus on what solutions we can come up with together. So I appreciate you being here today. There's going to be probably a lot of bloopers because I have recorded this multiple times for the simple reason that I kept crying. So you have gotten the least amount of crying I can handle. But it's healing to do this. I hope it's healing for you to see this, even though it may be hard. If you have gone through something similar to this, if I can make you feel like you're not alone, that was worth it. That was worth it to go through this. And if I can make you appreciate your own kid a little bit more, or try to understand them a little bit more, or try to bond with them a little bit more, then I've done my job. So, I hope you guys enjoy this one. And I think, honestly, every time you watch me, you are going to get something different. I'm spicy in a lot of ways. I am multifaceted, if you want to, go with that. I am down for whatever. So, I plan to discuss my favorite shows coming up pretty soon and talk about my best and worst jobs. So lots of good stuff. Hopefully you're excited about that. Hopefully you like my goofiness and my craziness. So, I'm glad to be here. Hope you're glad to be here. Hope you have a wonderful day. Enjoy the bloopers. Hopefully you can't hear my creaky knees. We'll talk about that next time. No, stop doing that. I'm still crying. Is it because I said okay? Stop. What the heck? Should have got that on camera. Anyway. Sorry, something weird was going on. So I was trying to stop this mess. And anyway, so I kept getting myself to the point where I was ready to start the video again. And then I was like, okay. And it just started. So I don't know. And then I tried to test it out to see if it really was just the word okay that starts the video, and it is not. So I looked like an idiot for a few minutes, and I wish that would have videotaped it, because it would definitely be in the bloopers.